your most recent novel, Someone, reviewing it in our favorite newspaper, Roxana Robinson wrote, McDermott reminds us that this is how things work, that life unfolds in small moments without dazzle. This kind of novel is necessary. It expands our understanding. It enlarges our souls.
That's pretty nice.
That is very nice.
That's pretty nice.
Very nice. Could you tell us about this novel and read a passage that...
Sure. You know, the funny thing is, I don't usually read, no offense, I read all your reviews, but I don't read reviews of my own work. I try to avoid that.
I can go on, the whole
Yes,
review
please.
here.
Well, but this time around, my husband is at the NIH, and shortly after Someone was published, there was a government shutdown. Now, my husband's a scientist, and he's type A, and he had to stay home. And he wasn't even allowed to work on his computer. So he would get on the computer and get all the reviews that were coming out for some, and then he would follow me around the house reading them out loud. So, and so of course he was following me reading the wonderful review from the Post. And weeping as he was reading it. And I was doing, this is, you know, you're married long enough, you turn into teenagers together, and I was going around going, la, 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 I'm not listening, I'm not listening. So yes, you know, hyperbole is a wonderful thing when it's used in your favor.
She's extremely tough.
I know.
She can rip people apart.
Yes,
She's one of my favorite
yes,
novelists,
yes.
too.
She's wonderful, yes.
So when
Sparta
she
is
says
a
your novel's
fabulous
great,
book,
it
yes.
is great.
Okay, all right, I'm convinced. You know, someone, and I guess the way to talk about Someone is to talk about how delighted and surprised I was by these reviews that my husband was following me around the house reciting. Because I did see this as, it's a small book, it's a brief book, and it was a book that I was very determined would come from the voice and the point of view of a woman who is not much heard from, on both ways. A woman who is not much heard from in her lifetime, and a woman who is not much heard from in literature, both those things. And so I was sort of stubbornly determined from the very beginning that I would give this novel, maybe foolishly, over to that woman. A woman who comes of age throughout the course of the 20th century, who has no great beauty and no great wealth and no great intelligence, who comes of age at a time when Dorothy Parker's admonition, men don't make passes at girls who wear glasses, was not said ironically, it was advice. And again, not much heard from, even across the length of her life. And yet, of course, as any of us, is true of any of us, has a rich and active and complex interior life, whether or not anybody asks for her opinion. So that was the task I set for myself. And the other side of that is I've been in this business long enough, and I understand that will marginalize the book. That books from a woman's point of view, an ordinary, not murdered or dismembered female point of view, and exclusively will not be paid the kind of attention that not just books by men, but more importantly, books with a male voice will get. I mean, that's the way it is. That's our culture. That's the state of literary arts these days. There's no getting around it. It's just, it's there. But I'm a contrarian, and this voice interested me, and if someone tells me I can't pull off something, I'm going to try to pull it off. So with those two things in mind, I gave the novel over to Marie Comerford, this ordinary woman, the child of immigrants, growing up in Brooklyn, and having what has been described as, and I guess I have to accept the description, having an ordinary life.